it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for 2023. So coming into January, I feel like it's important to remind you that although it is the very first month of this new modern day calendar, it's actually the last quarter of our astrological calendar. May I remind you, it is not a good time to take action, not a good time to make moves, not a good time to initiate something new, not a good time for New Year's resolutions. If you do kind of come into this brand new year with all the gusto to try and recreate yourself or bring something new to life, I hate to disappoint you, but you likely will not succeed. This is a time for rest, for reflection, for relaxation, for rejuvenation, regeneration, for reflection, and a lot of those words are coming at us because we're coming into this brand new year with Mercury retrograde. Now, Mercury being retrograde, especially in Capricorn energy, is setting the tone for what it is that we are going to have to experience throughout the year of 2023. Keep in mind that all Mercury retrogrades this year will be in Earth signs. Very practical, very connected to the here and now, very connected to this physical realm. We have a lot to review. And coming into the year, we have Mercury in a retrograde. We have Mars in a retrograde. Now, let me just say that as we move through January, we will see those two particular planets move into a direct situation within about a week of each other, which is going to be a very powerful vibe. Why is that? Well, Mercury rules over our mental plane, and while retrograde, we're looking back, we're reflecting, we're reviewing, we're revising, we're re-editing a lot. Mars, of course, has been retrograde since October, and we've really been stunted in the amount of action that we've been able to take, the amount of energy that we've been able to assert out in the exterior realm, because, of course, when Mars is retrograde, it is an internalized journey of energy, and he's in Gemini energy, the twins, the mental plane. We are definitely torn. We've been torn. We've had to debate the pros and cons. We've had to strategize what it is that we want to do, where our passions are, what it is that we actually desire, where it is that our time, our energy, our effort is needed. And for many of us, we are not going to gain a whole lot of clarity until about mid-January. On January 12th, we have Mars going direct at 8 degrees. On the 18th, we have Mercury going direct at 8 degrees. Yes, of course, Mars is going direct in Gemini energy, the air energy. Of course, Mercury rules over Gemini energy, so that's a little bit of a doozy. And then Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, is going to be going direct in Capricorn energy, the great manifester of the zodiac. You best believe that we are going to have huge amounts of insight, huge ideas, huge perspectives, huge understandings, and then we are going to be gifted with the green light go ahead to actually act on those ideas, those thoughts, those aha moments, because Mars will have the gusto, will have the energy to actually support us in moving forward. Now, of course, we're only going to cover the most important astrological aspects for the month, but you can tune in to the monthly energy forecast that I put out in order to get a whole rundown on all the astrology that takes place within each month. The other important factor that we got going on here in January will be taking place on the 22nd. This is when Uranus, the Great Awakener, goes direct at 14 degrees in Taurus energy. Now, Uranus has been in Taurus energy for a couple of years now and will continue to be there for quite some time. This is a conflicting energy. This is the Great Awakener, Uranus, who is open to change, who wants to change direction, who wants to wake us up, who wants a little bit of spontaneity, while this Taurus energy is a fixed energy. We want to hold on to what is old, tried, tested, and true for dear life, even if it's uncomfortable. So having Uranus been retrograde in Taurus for the last 5.5 months should have illuminated to us where it is that we are blocking ourselves, where it is that we're so attached to people, to possessions, to different topics and themes where we're so freaking attached to it that we're actually blocking the space needed in order for the new elements that we've been praying for to actually have a space to anchor in. So having Uranus go direct, you best believe there's going to be a shock to the system. You best believe that we are going to gain huge perspectives. There is going to be a huge shift, a huge transformation on the collective level in our own individual lives. And of course, following the week after Mars and Mercury go direct, you best believe that we are going to see a lot of change, a lot of transformation taking place in this physical realm. February is usually a pretty tough month for everyone. A lot of that can be contributed to the fact that we move into Pisces season. Pisces season is the last sign of the zodiac. It is where endings, completion points are needed in order for us to wrap things up, in order to prepare to start fresh, to start new again when we move into Aries season with this brand new astrological calendar. That spring equinox is so important. That is when our new year officially begins. February, though, is highly emotional, highly intuitive, very depressive in a lot of ways. Of course, many of us struggling through really crappy weather seasons that don't help our overall health and wellness. That Pisces energy is very deep. We have to go within ourselves on a soul level in order for us to really absorb and understand a lot of the tough love life lessons that we've gone through. Now, many of us in survival mode having to go through those tough love life lessons and not really have a chance to sit back and actually understand how the greater, grander picture of those particular life lessons are going to play a major part in us moving forward. The only real kind of important astro event that we got going on here in February is Jupiter making a very beautiful interaction with Pluto. Now, the thing about this is that Pluto is going to be at the 29th critical and crisis degree in Capricorn energy. May I remind you, March is a huge month, which means that January and February, we are kind of, I'm going to say, running around like chickens with their heads cut off in order to advance ourselves, make some of the changes that we've been stalled out in making, but yet kind of reaching an ending point of completion as well. Jupiter is about growth and expansion. Pluto is about true transformation. And having Jupiter be in Aries energy, a fire energy, we are a lot more likely to burn through, cut those cords with some of the attachments that we've had with the past, with our past selves, past people, past possessions, past storylines, in order for us to build a brand new foundation, a brand new structure, which of course the Capricorn energy that Pluto is in wants us to build. We are thinking long term. Now, we may have to look back in order to see the damage, the destruction to the structures, the systems, the routines, the relationships in our lives since 2020, technically back to 2008 when Pluto first moved into Capricorn. But at a 29th degree, we're definitely feeling the pressure. We're feeling the wrath, if you will. We're feeling the absolute cusp that we will all be on, leaving certain parts of ourselves and our realities and the world as we knew it behind in order to kind of put ourselves out there and prepare for this brand new world, this brand new reality that is 100% coming at us in March. March brings us huge freaking events. So we're going to spend some time on this. We're going to break it down. First, March is, again, the ending of the old astrological calendar as we approach the spring equinox and Aries season, which of course kicks off the brand new astrological calendar moving forward. That doesn't take place, though, until March 20th. But first, on March 7th, we have Saturn moving into Pisces energy. So let's talk about Mr. Saturn here for a second. Saturn is the Lord of Karma, Father Time. He's essentially who rules over this particular earth plane with the confines and the restrictions of the time-space continuum. Saturn has created the matrix essentially, that we have been living in. He is about structures and forms, foundations, roles, responsibilities, and definitely responsible for the tough love life lessons that we all have to go through in order to push the boundaries of the evolution of our soul, of our spirit. Now, Saturn was in its place of power, both in Capricorn energy and in Aquarian energy. So this takes us all the way back to pretty much 2019. Saturn was in Capricorn energy. 2020, the Great Awakening popped off, stayed in Capricorn energy, transited into Aquarian energy, did the back and forth with some retrogrades, and now is moving out of its place of power in both Capricorn and Aquarian energy, passing the baton, so to speak, over to Pluto to hold it down in this Aquarian energy, while Saturn moves forward and dives into Pisces energy. Now, this is going to be a very different landscape. First of all, Saturn, he likes things to be systematic, structured, rigid, if you will. But now, moving into Pisces energy, a water sign, we're going to have to learn to go with the flow a little bit better. Now, let me just say that karmically speaking, there may be an uptick, if you will, of death. Now, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, don't want to be a fearmonger. We're already starting to see the aftermath of the Jabberwocky. This is going to play into this because Pisces energy, of course, rules over viruses, rules over the lungs, rules over mass collective endings, if you will. However, it's not all a Debbie Downer type of situation. We're moving into this Pisces energy, which is spiritual in nature. Saturn will kind of be teaming up and joining forces with Neptune, who of course is in Pisces energy. It's its place of power here in Pisces. Yes, they're on opposite sides of this Pisces energy as Neptune is kind of nearing the latter degrees. However, they're getting to know each other. They're helping each other out. They're having a lot of discussions. And although they're not going to meet up, they're sharing the vibe. They're sharing the mission. They're sharing the purpose. And they're going to eventually get on the same page. Now, let me try to not get too ahead of myself, but I want you to understand here that Pisces energy is the ending of something. And Saturn and Neptune sitting in this Pisces energy will have a lot to talk about, have a lot to disagree and agree on, because they're going to meet up. They are going to meet up at a 0 degree in Aries energy when this Saturn and Neptune in Pisces energy comes to an end. And we're talking approximately 2026. And if you've been listening to me for any amount of time, you would know that this great grand solar flash that we're all waiting for, I truly believe is going to be taking place in 2026, because Aries energy is when we start fresh, when we start new again. And this is going to be helping us create a brand new and completely different reality than the ones that we have currently been experiencing and living through. So Saturn being in Pisces energy is our chance to kind of get in alignment with ourselves again, get clarity on our mission, on our purpose, on our dreams. This is a time where we're not going to have to work as hard because, Saturn in Capricorn energy was like a workhorse. Even in Aquarian energy, there's a franticness there to, clean up and constantly be progressing in situations. It was a little bit tough. We were definitely maxed out with all the work that we had to be doing. Now, Pisces energy, we're a little bit more in a free-flowing energy. It's a water sign, naturally. But this free-flowing energy means that we're not going to have control over a lot. We're not going to have a control over watching a lot of the organic and natural ending and completion points actually take place. And that might be a struggle for a lot of people, even if you are deep in your spiritual journey and try to have the understanding that this earth plane is merely a video game for us to advance our soul's experience expression through. Sometimes it's tough to watch things fall apart. Sometimes it's tough to watch people die. Sometimes it's tough to, accept the karmic soul contracts that need to come to an end in order for us to be freed up to actually begin again. We have to understand that this is a very deep spiritual energy. We have the Lord of Karma, Saturn, in Pisces energy, spiritual energy, hidden realm energy, unconscious energy. And through the process over the next couple years, because Saturn's going to be in Pisces until 2026, we are going to see an ebb and flow, because of course, water energy. We are going to see an ebb and flow. We are going to see a tug of war in surrendering, because that's what Pisces energy needs us to do, to the universe, to the cosmos, to the greater, grander plan. And then we're going to have to sit back and watch us bring forth our dreams through manifestation. Now, this isn't likely going to be a new thing. This is something that is in our DNA, that is in our birth charts, that is in our soul contracts that we've been working on, whether consciously or unconsciously, for quite some time. So we're going to start seeing the full completion of this particular cycle. And keep in mind that Saturn takes 30 years to go through all the signs. That's why if you're like 28 to 32 right now, or 58 to 62, or if you're seriously lucky enough to be in the latter parts of, your life at 88 to 92, you will be having your Saturn return. And the Saturn return energy is essentially when your world gets flipped upside down, when the systems, the structures, the routines, the relationships, everything that you've built towards in this 30 years gets triggered, gets flipped. So essentially, and not for everyone, but essentially, even if you're not having your Saturn return, collectively speaking, we are in the last chapter of our, I'm going to say, karmic contracts before we enter into Aries energy, which is essentially resetting this whole freaking Saturn cycle. So you best believe that this is going to be a totally different vibe that many of us have not even experienced thus far. We have to tap into the water energies that Pisces are, very karmic in nature, very much uncovering the unconsciousness in our individual lives and of the collective. Now, one other thing that is pretty good about Saturn actually moving into Pisces energy is that we are officially done with what we've been experiencing over the past 2 years with the Saturn and Uranus square. So you'll hear me talk about this in energy forecasts. A square is essentially getting into the boxing ring and fighting it out. So we had the Lord of Karma, Mr. Saturn himself, ruling over systems and structures and foundations, who likes to keep things the same, that is old, tried, tested, true, that wants to keep the traditional values alive. Get into the boxing ring with Uranus, the great awakener who wants nothing more than to flip the script, to shake the foundation underneath our feet, to open us up to spontaneous change for our best evolvement. So we've had these two fight it out for the last 2 years. This is why we've taken 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Now we are clearing this particular energy, this particular conflict. And again, we're going with the flow a little bit more. That Pisces energy is definitely going to take us to some very dark depths within ourselves, within humanity's unconscious collective, in order for us to unearth the darkest shadow parts of our existence in order to show it the light. Again, keep in mind that Pisces energy brings things full circle so that we can prepare to start fresh, to start new again when we move into Aries energy. So on the 12th, we have Jupiter conjunct with Chiron. Okay, so let's break this down. First of all, Jupiter is about growth, about expansion, about beliefs, abundance, and blessings. Chiron is the wounded healer. It is the wounds that we come into this lifetime in order to heal. We have the wisdom, we have the resources, we have the knowledge within us, each and every single one of us, to heal the wounds that we have come into this life to heal. So a conjunct means that they're coming together, they're bumping into one another. And this is taking place in Aries energy, the very first sign of the zodiac that rules over our egoic identity. Now, this is a big deal because Jupiter and Chiron typically only meet each other in a sign, so in this case, Aries, once every 50 years. This is big news, okay? Many of us, if you're not 50 years old, you haven't even experienced this yet. If you are 50 years old, it likely took place with a different background of planetary energies taking place 50 years ago that wouldn't even resemble what it is that we are going to experience with this particular conjunction. Now, if you have your Chiron natally placed in Aries energy, this is going to be a huge activation for you. But regardless of where your Chiron is placed in your birth chart, this is going to influence each and every single one of us. And it is going to be very triggering and very activating. Here is why. First of all, we have the planet of growth, the planet of expansion, meeting up with the wounded healer. So what can we expect? Jupiter is going to magnify our wounds. We have to become aware of them in order to provide a solution, in order to actually heal them. So yes, we have to expect things to get a little tiny bit worse in order for things to get better. This is usually called our healing crisis. And again, back in 2020, when this whole COVID thing happened, this great awakening thing happened, that was essentially our healing crisis as a collective. Now, with that being said, this is about our deep rooted wounds. This is about the parts of our soul that got fragmented in such a way that has essentially put us in a state of non-wholeness. This is a time where we will see a lot of our old wounds resurface again. Again, we have to be aware of them in order to heal them. We have to feel them in order to heal them. And we have to be reminded of some of the most painful experiences that we've gone through that we haven't fully processed. Now, this doesn't sound fun, but it is absolutely essential for our soul's evolution. Chiron is asking us to focus. Put a huge magnifying glass, which Jupiter is going to provide for us. Turn the volume all the way up, which Jupiter does very well, on the parts of us that we have casted away, that we have neglected, that we have kind of cut off from our existence, that we have repressed, that we have just deemed to be too ugly, too dark, too unacceptable to actually allow to be a part of us. May I remind you that if we do not operate from an integrated state of wholeness, we will never stand in our power. Jupiter conjunct Chiron is going to show us the big picture behind these wounds, the unconscious programs that are running under our guise of our operating system. We are going to really be revealed to how these particular wounds have affected us throughout our lifetimes in order for us to actually see where it is that we need to grow, to heal, to develop and expand our soul's consciousness. Now, to add a little extra layer of just, cosmic excitement to this, we're also going to have Venus thrown in the mix. And of course, Venus, being the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, she's coming in to make things a little bit personal. She is going to trigger our heart activation. She is going to stir up our emotions. She is going to illuminate to us where the wounds, the feelings, the judgments of our own self-worth, our own self-value has been alive and well running in our unconscious programming, creating a lot of toxicity, not only within ourselves, with the relationship with ourselves, but the relationship with other people. Keep in mind, we're in a year of 7, okay? Reminder, relationship with ourselves is a mirror for the relationship with the people in the world around us. Now, of course, with Venus coming into play, we might have wounds illuminated where our safety, our security, our stability is concerned in relationships, in money, in resources, in our physical realms. Now, again, I'm not here to fearmonger, but this isn't going to feel good. It's not supposed to. You have to feel in order to heal. But rest assured that this is triggering and activating what is going to be a super freaking powerful time to not only heal ourselves on an individual level, but to heal humanity on a collective level. It's going to be a huge deal. So like I said, March 20th, that is when Aries season begins, when the spring equinox pops off, when the new astrological calendar gets initiated. That is our new year. That is our beginning. That is the initiation of a brand new timeline, a brand new series of tough love life lessons, karmic chapters, soul contracts, just in time for March 23rd. What do we got going on March 23rd, you may ask? Well, we have the biggest planetary aspect taking place, which is Pluto moving into Aquarius. So let's talk about Mr. Pluto. First of all, Pluto only changes signs once every 20 years-ish, okay, on average, depending on the retrograde. So don't hold me to that, but roughly speaking, every 20 years. Pluto has been in Capricorn energy since 2008. It was the trigger, the activation of the collapse, of the damage, of the destruction that our society needs, especially where big systems are concerned. We're talking government, we're talking economy, we're talking banking, healthcare, we're talking society as a whole. We are talking about watching the reformation of our world. This is essentially when we're going to get a taste of what New Earth is going to be like. Keep in mind, Pluto, the great transformer, does the transformation from the inside out on a deep psychological level by moving through the shadow realm. Is it going to feel good? Probably not. Pluto is only going to spend 3 months in Aquarius energy. It's a very slow moving planet, so we're not going to accomplish too much, I'm going to say, land territory in this Aquarian energy, but it's enough to give us a taste, a glimpse, insight on what is about to come at us for the next 20 years of our life. Am I being dramatic? Yes. Is it warranted? Absolutely. You need to look up where Aquarius energy rules over your birth chart, and that is where you will see a total and complete transformation take place. We always look to the outer planets in order to indicate where the changes are taking place in the collective. And of course, it impacts our own individual lives based off our own individual chart. The outer planets, typically speaking, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, they are the ones that shake things up in order for a change and a transformation to actually take place. But it is Pluto, solely Pluto, that has the most power to transform our lives. There is no stone left unturned. There is no dark crevice. There are no more skeletons left in the closet when Pluto is done with us. And in Aquarius energy, you best believe that this is going to have a huge impact on the collective. We are going to see the world go through a very deep, very transformative, systematic change, which we absolutely need, seeing as, the world leaders right now are just corrupt as F. We need a change. We need to return the power to the people. And this is going to revolutionize our society as a whole as we know it. Aquarius energy is very progressive. It's independent. It's about freedom. It's about thinking outside of the box. It rules over technology. It rules over the collective. It rules over smaller groups of people. And we are just coming out of Capricorn energy, which definitely did the damage that was needed in order to break down the systems, the foundations, the structures that were built on corruption, on shadow elements that harmed the people. So this whole transformation since 2008 was about basically taking the top dogs down, ruffling up the feathers, exposing the systems and the structures, and then Pluto moving into Aquarius is going to transform every aspect that needs reform, especially where our social systems, where our institutions, where the big systems, the big structures are concerned. We will see a total reform with government, with banking, with the economy, with healthcare, with our communities as a whole. We are going to see how smaller groups of people, when of like mind, are going to come together for a common cause and return the power back to the communities. Aquarius energy is about progress. It's about innovation. It's about the internet, networks. It's about people. It's about data. And we're definitely going to see the whole pros and cons of technology and AI battle it out. I am going to just kind of put it out there that, again, it's 20 years. So we're going to have a 20-year battle here over the role that technology and AI is going to play in our society. Yes, it can be very scary on a 3D level right now, looking at some of the storylines take place with our government, with their want, need, and desire to enforce, social media credit systems and all this kind of crap. We are going to scrutinize that particular system over the next 20 years, and we are going to remove those corrupted systems, those corrupted people using technology and AI for their own agendas, and we are going to basically align with where we can use technology and AI to better society, to better the earth. This is going to definitely put us in a different age altogether as we enter into the age of Aquarius. That should be no surprise to anyone, but we are definitely going to see the systems change. The strategies change, the structures change. And on a personal level, like I said, find Aquarius energy in your chart. That's where Pluto's going to be activating a particular sector of your life. And this is where the true, total, complete transformation is going to take place. And yes, Pluto transits are a little bit dark. They're a little bit, destructive. You have to have destruction before rebirth. And they're a little bit difficult because we do have to examine the not so nice part of life and part of ourselves that, of course, have just been alive and well under the surface of our awareness. We have to deal with it. And you hear me say it all the time. You have to feel it in order to heal it. Well, you have to feel it and then deal with it in order to heal it. And we are going to be doing that as a collective. So we have a lot of energy here with this Pluto transit just by itself. And then when you kind of, throw in all of the other aspects taking place this year, you can bet your pretty bottom dollar that we are going to be exposing and embracing our shadow selves and the shadow of the collective, the ugliness, the darkness, the all kinds of hidden realm things that we've been trying to repress. We have to bring it to the light. We have to bring it into our consciousness. We have to bring it into our awareness in order for us to actually heal it, to change it, to integrate it. So, like I said, we're only going to get a taste of it. Pluto's only going to be in Aquarius energy for about 3 months. And then Pluto's going to retrograde and go back into Capricorn energy, the very ending degrees of Capricorn energy, which means that we're going to be at a critical crisis point of rebuilding our long-term objectives, our long-term goals based off of huge insights. Keep in mind, Aquarian energy is visionary. We're gaining a huge amount of insight, a huge amount of understanding, a huge amount of perspective in a very short amount of time. Then we move back into that Capricorn energy. We put our best foot forward. We try to rearrange, reorganize, redo, revisit, revamp all of those retrograde words. And then Pluto will come out of a retrograde, go direct, go through those final degrees of Capricorn once again, re-enter into Aquarian energy, where he will sit until 2043. That is a very long time, my friends. So The last thing we have going on here in March is on the 25th, we have Mars moving into Cancer energy. Now, normally we wouldn't talk about this in the great grand scheme of the yearly review, but because Mars spent close to 7 months in Gemini energy, retrograded in Gemini energy, when direct in Gemini energy, you best believe that this is going to be a noticeable shift. Now, Mars in Gemini was all about debating the pros and cons in the mental plane. When we jump into Cancer energy, we're taking it down into the heart space. We have to connect with our feels. We have to connect with our intuition. We have to understand where our emotions are at after we've been stuck in the mental plane for, honestly, 7 months too freaking long, in my perspective, in my opinion. So Mars, of course, is the ruler of our physical energy, of our passion, of our desires, even our anger. And you best believe that feeling this shift coming out of the airy, very divided mental plane of this Gemini energy and into our heart space, our feels, our foundation of what it is that we are building here in Cancer energy, we are definitely going to feel that shift.